A happy new month to you guys. Can you believe 2021 is about to come to an end? Like, we are actually supposed to start doing Christmas countdown. Wow. So I came across an old IG photo of mine that said, "Yes, I'm different." And it really affirmed me. It affirmed this dream. It affirmed this hunch, thought, project, whatever you want to call it. I will actually do a repost of the photo on the Be Different KEIG page. Things I am excited about in this season: Kenyans at the Olympics, just putting us on the map left, right, and center. Another thing I'm excited about is the how you guys are listening, how you guys are supporting this podcast. It's crazy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can assure you the numbers are good. Things I'm not excited about: all the politics going on, the murders and the suicides. That's why we bring you this timely episode tagged Mental Health Check with Jane Wambugu. She's a psychologist. Have a listen.
Good times, my fellow humans. If it is not good, then it's about to get better. Welcome to the Be Different podcast. My name is Nekesa Ochieng, and I am glad to have you here.
This is another exciting episode of Be Different podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Nekesa Ochieng, and I'm super excited. We have an interesting guest, a very timely discussion that we're about to have. So please have a listen and enjoy yourselves. Welcome. I call her Pastor Jane, but I would like her to introduce herself so that she gives us all her titles and everything that she does. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nekesa, for having me.
Yeah.
You have rightly said, I am Jane Wambugu. I am a pastor, yes. I am a psychologist. I am a mother and a wife and a grandmother.
Wow.
My passion is to help people, to meet the needs of people. So whichever way that is given me, that is my purpose. My purpose, I believe, is to help somebody. Through counseling, through material help, whichever way that I'm able to. So that is who Jane is.
Wow. And thank you for being here today. So can I call you Jane, or I just call you Pastor Jane through the
Jane is okay with me. Just call me Jane.
Sawa. So why, the first question is just to ask, why psychology? Like, how did you choose to study psychology? Or how did you end up in the psychology? Is it an industry? Is there any story behind it?
Well, thank you for that question. Is so, I don't know how to put it, but yes, there is a story behind my being in psychology.
Yeah.
Because initially I was a medical person. I was a paramedical person. And so when I went to do theology, when I went to Bible school, and I realized that now I have given myself to serve people, I wanted to know a bit of counseling, just a little bit. And when I did in my Bible school study, I did biblical counseling, basically Christian ministries with an emphasis on Christian counseling. And then I realized I don't know much. Christian counseling was just a tip of the iceberg. That is how I went full into psychology. And I did my degree in psychology. I did my master's in counseling psychology.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing my PhD in marriage and family therapy, because I feel counseling is the way to go. So yes, there's a story behind it. I realized just preaching will not help people. I needed to have some knowledge on counseling, how to help them. And I needed to be balanced. I didn't want just to have the Christian counseling alone. Nekesa, I realized even as I did counseling, I didn't just do it for other people. I'm also doing it for myself. It is helping me quite a lot. It helped me navigate the changeover from a professional officer to a pastor.
Wow.
And it has really worked for me. Yes.
Oh wow. I like that. I like that you have said that preaching is not the only thing that would have helped people as much as you would have wanted. So you went ahead and seek the professional qualifications for helping people holistically.
Yes.
Wow, I really like that. So how has the market been since you finished your studies and went into the market in terms of now counseling? What's on the ground? What's your thought on Kenyans' perspective of therapy? Are we receptive? Do we even know about therapy and taking care of ourselves?
That's a very good question. Initially, in the first few years when I did counseling, I was going out voguing and really hoping, people will come running to me.
Yeah.
And for counseling.
Yeah.
Shock on me. Especially, most of our community people don't appreciate counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And one organization I worked for was charging only 500 shillings.
Wow.
And somebody would come and say, yani, nikulipe, umefanya nini, umeongea tu, hujaniandikia dawa,
Yeah.
They did not appreciate counseling initially. But of late, let me say in the last 2 years, especially, it has been made more worse, I don't know whether worse or better, by COVID.
Mm-hmm.
People now are embracing counseling.
Okay.
And over the last couple of months, you can see people are appreciating. Only that the problem is, if one is going for counseling for pay, it will not really pay much, because people are still struggling to imagine that they can pay you for what you have just done talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, psychotherapy is just talking.
Yeah.
So people don't see why they should pay you just to talk to them. But I must say, they are coming. Like even in the churches, we don't charge counseling.
Yeah.
But they come for counseling. People come for counseling. So people are appreciating slowly by slowly that counseling is the way to go. I would say there before is because we didn't know that mental health is an issue that we need to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And with what is happening now, there's so much that is happening that has made people take a second look at counseling as a profession that can help them.
Yeah. Like recently, now that you've mentioned, there's a lot that is happening. Recently, just like a few weeks back, a report has been released about 435 suicides within a span of 3 months. This is Kenya. I don't know whether you heard that in the news. In your opinion, I wanted to find out. So what's happening? First, I really like the fact that you've mentioned that there's a place where counseling was being offered at 500 bob. We have no idea, Okay, 500 bob, people buy airtime for 500 bob. People buy, a meal in a family dinner, 500 bob is easily spent, So I'm just wondering, what's happening, in your opinion, where there's these suicide cases, especially in Kenya?
Wow. My explanation would be several things. One of them is what we have said. People don't appreciate counseling. So when I have a problem, when I am going through depression, when I am going through challenge in my marriage, they don't seek for help. And so when pressure builds, anything can happen. And I always say, don't ever swear that I cannot do anything, because you can do anything at the heat of a moment of anger. So people don't appreciate counseling as a way to help them. And of course, secondly, with the advent of the corona pandemic, there's a lot of relationship problems. People do not have money. People, you are used to living in the morning, both of you. Now you are in the house the whole day together. It is very easy to find a mistake when you are staying with somebody the whole day, even if they are working from home. And then, of course, conflict is exaggerated by lack of finances. There's a lot of conflict in the families because people are there, mkiishi na mtu utaona tu makosa yake. And of course, live events also make people want to do suicide. There's children look at the parents and they see they are not living right according to them. And so they say the best way out is for me to, like a young man who committed suicide a few years ago in our neighborhood, because he thought the parents are not agreeing. And so he was asked by the therapist, what has it got to do with you? And he said, I don't want to live to see my parents not agreeing. And worst of all, to see myself getting married and maybe not agreeing with my wife and making my children to suffer. So eventually, even after a lot of counseling and treatment, he went ahead and committed suicide. So there are very many factors. Of course, there is the personality traits, how you are able to handle pressure. We are all different. And some people think suicide is the way to go, whereas it is not the way to go. But anyway, so all those things, they are exaggerating the mental problems, the relational problems, and people don't know what to do. So the way out for them is to commit suicide. Of course, there is the element of spirituality.
Yeah.
Because God, in his own way, has a way of giving us peace. So when people don't seek God and they seek money, they seek wealth, they seek comfort, there is that the element of emptiness in them. And so one finds the solution is to take their life.
You've mentioned something very interesting, Pastor Jane, about that young man who committed suicide because the parents were not agreeing. And something that we have really talked about on this podcast is childhood trauma. We've talked about child abuse. We've talked about psychological wounds that come in one way or the other. So what we lacked is that professional comment and or opinion. Maybe you can shed some light on childhood trauma and how it affects individuals.
Yeah, what we know as psychologists, there is one theory that we use by Sigmund Freud. It's called the Psychoanalytic Theory. And Freud tells us that the things that you passed through when you are young will come later in life to, well, not really haunt, but the past will obviously affect you.
Yeah.
So, for example, somebody who was raped, sexually abused when they were young, when they eventually grow up, they'll do two things. Either go into immorality full blast, or fear. If it's a girl, they'll fear men, or if it's a boy, he'll fear women if they were raped. So the things that we go through as children affect us when we are growing up, and they make us have a lot of phobias, they make us have a lot of fears. They lead some people, if they are girls, for example, to desire other girls because they think men are bad. That is why we talk of lesbianism or gayism in school, homosexuality. So the boy who was sodomized in primary school or secondary school will have little to do with men, depending on how they are able to format the problem. So most of the things we see, even what we see our parents doing as children, there is a tendency of the boy to do what his father used to do. If he was beating his mother, he will tend to beat his wife, and etc., etc. So those traumas that we go through in childhood affect us when we grow up. And until you deal with them, they will haunt you all your life. I remember a story we were given when we were doing the bachelor's degree of a man whose mother tried to abort him, and he did not die. The pregnancy did not come out. And so when the man was 40 years old, he started experiencing some trauma. And so they went back. Psychology was developed in these developed countries. And we are there now in Kenya. We thank God we are able to assess these problems. And it was noted, the mother was told, you have to tell us what happened on particular month in the year, July. He would have some anxiety problems and depression every July. And the mother said, 40 years ago, in the month of July, I tried to abort this baby, and I did not succeed. You see, this is something that he was not even aware.
Do you want to tell me this man was affected with something that happened to him when he was in his mother's womb?
Yes.
What?
So, what we tell mothers, especially mothers, when you are pregnant with a child, speak positive. Tell them good things, because these things will affect them when they are coming out eventually. So this man, of course, it was an unusual case, but the story goes from a psychological perspective that this aborted pregnancy would affect this man up to the age of 40. It's not until that time that he sat down with a counselor and the mother too, and they went through psychotherapy, and he was able to come out of it. So yes, traumas that come when we are children will affect us. And they make some girls, for example, if you had a very rough father who beat your mother, you will say, I'll never get married. Because in your mind, you are saying all men are bad. But okay, all men are not bad. But that's the only man you have met. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. They affect us, they follow us.
So we are seeing so many suicides. And
Yes.
I don't know whether it's a certain age of people. Is it possible to actually go back and see what happened to these people when they were children or when they were growing up? And why are they, I don't know how to...
The people who are committing suicide run across the ages. The majority of them are 25 to 40 there, if I remember Dr. Jenka saying.
Yeah.
And I would say there are many factors to that.
Yeah.
There could be childhood traumas. There could be also the relationship that we are having right now. And I must say this, the way we are bringing up our children, maybe we have also not given them room for development and growth, and we don't let them get challenged. Let me use that word.
Okay.
So this girl grows up knowing that I want bread and butter, it is there. I want soda and chips, it's there. So they get into a relationship expecting that to be given front. And this man is telling her, I don't have that kind of money. And so the differences come and they argue, because if you listen to what made this young man kill this young girl, you can't even, it's okay, not mundane, but not something major. It's not $1 million worth property. Somebody thinks you have a relationship with another man and he says, it is me or no one. And so he kills you for that. And you are not even married to him. You know what I'm saying? And the girl who was killed in Eldoret, because she could receive money, and then all of a sudden she decides, I don't want this man. Instead of the man walking away and living his life, he says, and you remember him saying that, it is me or no other man. And so some of the things that are making our people kill one another are not major things. They are even families. Why do marriages break because of very something that can be handled really. Let me not say small, because they are not small. So what I'm saying about suicide, there are many, many factors to that. There could be the issues of drugs also. People are taking a lot of drugs to ease their problems. People are going into alcohol. They're going to drugs of addiction. These young people. So when they meet and take those drugs, and then they disagree over something very small, over are you paying tax or not? And you know, somebody tells you, I'll kill you. And you say, he's joking. He's not joking. So one of the things that we say about suicide is you don't take threats lightly. Somebody says, I'm going to kill myself. Don't think that he will not, because that's what we were taught earlier on in life, that these people are looking for sympathy
and attention.
But sometimes it is good to take them seriously. That's what I was telling the students today. When you hear somebody saying, I'm going to kill myself, or I'm depressed, just be, want to know what is making you depressed, what is making you want to commit suicide. And this way we are going to reduce some of this. So those are the reasons that make people commit suicide. Not something so major sometimes, but something that they can't just cope. And like I said earlier, the way we cope with our mental health is all different, and also individual personality. How are we able? And it has come to what you said. How have you brought up the children?
Yeah.
Have you brought up your child knowing that everything she wants is there? You go to the supermarket, you want her to carry everything because you have the money or you have the credit card. But are you really helping them? Because when they go into the society, they will not get everything that they want. When they go to school, they'll start stealing because they think everything belongs to them. And so there are all those factors that we need to consider. We don't take lightly what people say about negativity. Take them seriously and want to know what is happening in their lives.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jane, for answering that. Maybe you can just comment on our way of disciplining in this is Africa and Kenya in general, or has it been a way of contributing to the childhood, the psychological wounds and the traumas? Because there's a lot of we've actually even seen parents, they've beaten their children to death. Just tying into that, I had a conversation with our firstborn, my brother, and he was just giving us a picture of being a firstborn. There's a lot of demands that as African parents we put on, especially when you're a boy, an African boy, firstborn. There are those demands that we put on you. There's that pressure. There's that comparison. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I'm also a firstborn, by the way, and so I feel your brother. I feel what you are saying about him. Yeah, there's that element of our parents, and even for you who are young, you have never been taught to be a mother. You just woke up, you did a wedding, the next 1 year we have a baby.
Yeah.
So you are learning how to be a mother with your child. So you really don't know. And that is why it is good to do these parenting courses. However, how do we discipline our children? Our generation who are older, they say we don't want our children to suffer the way we suffered. We suffered, quote unquote, but that is what formed who we are. It has made us stand well.
Yeah.
However, I think for children today, because of the exposure, because of what is going on in the world, it is good to balance. Like you have rightly said, we don't discipline, we beat. The word is beat. You take a mwiko and beat this child.
Yeah.
And this child has, like a few years ago, I was talking to one of my children when they were still, I think, in high school. And I said, wash the dishes. How can you be seated the whole day? And she told me, washing dishes is child labor. I do not want to have child labor. That one now, I know it is very wrong for her to talk to me like that. But I made it very clear. I didn't want to beat her because I would have beaten her. From 2 doesn't make me not beat you. Beat. But we have now to know once the child reaches the age of 12, you cannot now keep picking a sleeper. You need to sit down with them because now they can understand the mistake that they have made. Discipline them, but balance. Because even the Bible tells us, spare the rod and spoil the child. Discipline makes us hate discipline. I don't know if it's making sense, because I hated discipline because I was really disciplined, Nekesa. I was.
You were?
And until I said, I need to know whether this is my mother.
Yeah.
It is not.
Everyone questions whether their mother is their mother.
It is not good to let your child question if you are the mother. Discipline them with love and sit them down and explain to them, why am I disciplining you? Because I want you to grow up to be a good girl or a good boy. Why am I disciplining you? Is because what you did is wrong. But you don't just take a mwiko and beat. I am reminded of my firstborn, how I used to beat her. Again, I say I was not taken to a school of parenting.
Yeah.
I just parented. I learned parenting with my own child.
Yeah.
So we need to balance the discipline and love. Love your child. Be a friend to your child. And especially when they approach preteens, because that is the time we lose our children. There is nowhere in the world where they will live that there are no rules to govern how we live in schools, in the government, in any nation. There will be rules to be obeyed. So we need to teach them from the word go. Yeah, okay. I don't know if I've answered that.
Yes, you have answered beautifully. So I wanted to find out. There's that essence of, you've said, especially, according to you, you're saying it's okay to take a sleeper and beat your child, spank, beat, until preteen age. So 2 questions. What is the child foundational, what are the foundational years according to you or in your opinion? And the second question is, nowadays girls as young as 8, 9-year-olds are having sexual orgies. And we don't have comprehensive sex education in Kenya.
No, we don't.
So, and we also want them to be open with us as their parents or as their mothers. So this beating and these the boundaries, where do we draw the line? The openness, the friendship, and yet, in my opinion, the beating closes up the child.
Yeah, the first one is about the discipline and the balancing. You need to balance the love and the discipline. You know, during those times when we were questioning whether our mothers were our mothers, there was not discussion. Nimesema aje? Before you say what she said, the kuni is on you. Okay, for those of us who grew up in the village.
Yeah.
So they didn't have time to discuss with you. Sometimes you don't even know why you are being beaten. So what I'm saying, for you to balance this, let the child know you are not beating them because you hate them. Because there is the affirmation. The child needs a lot of affirmation when they are preteens. And they need to know that my mommy, even though she beats me, she loves me. Yeah? So if you do that, then when all is well, when there is no war, sit down with them. Watch a program with them. Even on TV or, and then discuss with them. When you are discussing, you will be able to get them. You will know, oh, this is what they know and what they don't know. When my children were growing up, I used to talk to them about so many issues. And they would say, hiyo tunajua, tulifundishwa shule. And I'm like, let us talk about it then. What do you know? So they'll tell me what they know. Nitakosoa what is wrong. Because sometimes we are taught and we get what we want.
Yeah.
And they understand it. You give information that they can understand. Again, you don't beat them to a point of wakikuona ukiingia kwa mlango wanakimbia bedroom. You know, that is how our fathers used to be.
Yeah.
We used to hide at the tables, let them know my father coming here is a friend. My mother coming is a friend. That if I have made a mistake, that is, have you seen children who even come and say, Mami, nimefanya makosa? Because you have shown them makosa is wrong to do the wrong thing. But when it is time to talk, you can create time. Take them out for eating chips. Children like chips and soda.
Yeah.
Have a time with them. Let them know that mommy, though she beats me, yes, she has love for me. She can buy me whatever they like, if it is chocolate or whatever. Let them know that you still love them. Otherwise, you beat them and don't explain anything. That is when what you have said happens. You close up and they will never come to you. And they will trust the other peers. Some trust neighbors, and neighbors, of course, take advantage of them.
Yeah.
So it is a thin balance. It's a very thin balance. You understand your child. And again, if you have 3 children, for example, like me, you understand them. They are not the same. The way you discipline this one is not the way you discipline this other one. The way you talk to this one is not the way you talk to the other one. And the same way with openness. Some will open up to you, some will not open up to you. So you as a mother, as a father, you need to understand this. And I must tell you and whoever else will listen to us, Dr. Dobson is a man. And he says, talk, mother, talk. Because a mother is listened by the child. Because he says, when a child is in their cocoon, listening to the voices, he chooses the voice of the mother. Wow. What has my mother said? Imagine, what has my mother said? And if you have not talked about a particular issue, for example, sexuality, they will listen to the next voice, which is their peers.
Wow.
And you need to be, any mother, any father needs to be very, very close to their child so that they can compare your voice and the voice of the other people out there. Including teachers. We have had teachers who have taken advantage of our children.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Because the mother never said anything. So whatever the teacher said is taken as the gospel truth.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, it's true. Okay, so we talk. Mother talk. I love
mother
that.
To your child. Yeah, talk, mother talk.
I've picked something that I've been recently thinking about a lot, and I've seen it being discussed, is teenage pregnancies, which have also gone up. especially during this COVID season. And it's really painful, from incest, from abuse. I know we've discussed it. But what's your take on teenage pregnancies? I've seen them doing exams, and I'm just thinking, really? Number one, someone who is pregnant doing an exam, or someone who has just given birth going back to do an exam. In all honesty, I had a baby and I was traumatized for real. I had a nervous. My whole face went numb on one side, and I was told by a neurologist it's because of the trauma that I went through. So you can imagine, this is a child giving birth to another child. Kindly comment on teenage pregnancy and just
like we said on suicide. There is the high incidences of suicide are also activated by the fact that there's so much knowledge out there that people know. And the same case happens with teenage pregnancies. These girls have openness in knowledge, how to have sex, and so having sex is like the in thing. It has been made look glamorous to have sex. You don't have a boyfriend? This is a standard 5, asking the friend. So having a boyfriend, having a girlfriend, because of the exposure that our children have, they start practicing sex very early without even taking responsibility, because freedom comes with a lot of responsibility. So when they are free and they think they are free to have sex, they don't know that they will have children. And they tell you, when you talk to these children, they tell you, I'm too young to get pregnant. And of course, if one has started menstruating, that means there is an egg being produced, and they will obviously get pregnant. So that is one reason. Another reason is, as parents, are we taking care of our children? Look, for example, during the COVID period last year, when in one county, I think we had 400 teenage pregnancies in a month.
Imagine.
Where are the parents at this time? Do you know where your daughter is? Because you are so busy out there making money. And schools have been closed for a long time. These children are free and idle. And when children are idle, they experiment. And one of the things they experiment with is sex. And so the children experiment with sex, and they are very innocent. We had one who went for tests, and she knew, if I take my urine to be tested, they'll see that I'm pregnant. So she took some water from the tap. Obviously, the pregnancy is seen. But what am I saying? They're so exposed. Children are so exposed. We have bought them bundles. We have bought phones, smartphones. We have computers in the houses. We have the TV, for what I know. And so these children have all the knowledge with them, not like a few years ago when we did not have that exposure. So as much as they're exposed, the parents have a great responsibility to take care. Know where your daughter is. Where is your daughter? The whole day when you were busy running with the streets askaris, because maybe you are a hawker, and I have no problem with them. Maybe you are in the office making an extra shilling. Where is your child at that time? What mechanism have you put in place to know how they spend their day? So it is a big problem, teenage pregnancy, but mainly is because of that. And of course, the innocence of a child, they are taken advantage of by teachers. That is what makes me even more worried. There are a few teachers, like, is it Western Kenya or South, wherever, there are so many children who are impregnated by their teachers.
Oh, God.
Those people who should take care of the children are taking advantage of them. So, and of course, brought about by the problems in the homes. If there is a problem in a marriage, then this man will look for a girl to satisfy his sexual needs. And this girl who is coming from a poor family, whose mother is not able to buy her pads or some little things in the house, this man is giving her 100 shillings. And it's a whole complex issue, the issue of teenage pregnancy. And so it's a whole society problem.
But at the end of the day, let me just chime in there. But at the end of the day, how then do we handle these girls who have fallen prey? They've come home, they're pregnant.
I know parents have a big issue, because I worked in a crisis pregnancy center. And one of the problems I saw was with the mothers of the girls. The girl would come with a pregnancy and say, my mother has chased me away from home.
Sure.
And she just dropped out of school, maybe Form 2. She's pregnant, the mother has thrown her out. So what I would say is that embrace the child, because pregnancy is not the worst sin that could be committed on earth. You don't feel good about it, but it has happened. It has happened, and this girl, okay, she made a mistake, maybe she didn't listen to you, but again, crucifying her doesn't mean that you are helping the problem. And I'll say it is not the worst thing that could have happened to her. And my guiding principle in life and my guiding scripture in life is that all things, Jeremiah 29 verse 11, God has a purpose and a plan for every person who is born, regardless of how they are brought into the world. It could be a teenage pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy, even of married women or whoever. So embrace this daughter. Show her she has made a mistake, but don't throw her out. Take care of her for the sake of her child and for the sake of her future. Because when you disrespect this girl and tell her to go out, what are you telling her? If she was in Form 2, that means she will not complete high school. If she was in college, like one girl I was counseling, she was told by her mother, I will not pay college fee because you have become pregnant. So, and she came and told me, I cannot do abortion. The mother wanted her to do abortion. I cannot do abortion because I'm a Christian. And the mother was mad with her. What do you tell me you are a Christian and you went sleeping with I don't know who? So embrace the daughter who has gotten pregnant. Let them go for counseling. Or if you are the mother, you can be able to counsel, and I would encourage that you do not counsel your own daughter, because you'll be very unhappy with her. And you may say words that are bad, and a mother cursing their own children. So it is good for them to look for counseling. Let them get help, because it is not so that they can be able to move on with their purpose. And take care of your baby, because the baby is innocent.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I see, for me, that's very heartbreaking, actually. There's something you said. I actually thought that most of these teenage pregnancies, especially the ones that happened during COVID, we were all in lockdown. So
yes.
Family setup, culture, incest, rape, of course. As much as I'm not disqualifying what you have said in terms of teachers, the society taking advantage of poor girls, it's very unfortunate. Lastly was an advice to parents who have a chance of shaping the kids. Should we come for counseling, and at what point? I just feel like asking, when is it safe to say we are proactive when it comes to mental health? When can we start just looking after ourselves instead of reacting?
Yeah, thank you. I maybe I didn't define this, but mental health is a state where you are able to do things that you normally do without interruptions, the activities that you do every day. So in the event that you realize you are diverting, you are not able to cope with the stresses of life, because life has a lot of stresses. So if you are able to cope and move on, because everybody has their own stresses, then we can say you have a good mental health. But in the event that you're not able to cope, and anytime you are in the house, you are quarreling somebody, anytime you're in the house, you are having mood swings. And I'm not talking about the mother only, I'm talking about the children, I'm talking about the father too. And you notice there's something that is changed from what we know. Somebody has been waking up at 6, they are now waking up at 7, or waking up at 3. They are not sleeping enough. There is a change. Somebody has been eating a lot or eating too little. So you notice there's a change from normal. Somebody has been coming to dinner table, if it's a family that eats together, and all of a sudden a preteen or the father doesn't come to the dinner table. And he says, nitakula tu. They are keeping off. So at what point in time do you come for counseling? When you notice there is some problem. And you may not necessarily come as a family if it is only one person who is affected. But if it is a problem that is affecting the mother, the father, and the children, then the best thing is to look for a counselor that can give you counseling for all of you. Come as a family. Let's talk about things together. We say things are not working here. How are we going to? Because this is what will lead to what we are seeing: divorce, suicide, murders, because people are not agreeing. There is no or little communication in the homes. So when you realize that there's a breakdown in communication, when you realize that there are some changes in the way people live, that is the right time to come for counseling. And I am praying that our Kenyan society will be open to know counseling is not, and let me tell you, Nekesa, what I say. There is nobody who is mad. That is Jane Wambugu's philosophy.
Yes.
Because psychology is the study of human behavior, human mind, and how the mind affects the behavior. So if I see you behaving in an abnormal way, we call it abnormal psychology, then don't say they are mad. Try to explain. And this is the way of the work of a counselor. Try to explain why they are behaving the way they are behaving. It could be the effect of depression or stress. It could be anxiety. It could be they are on drugs. It could be the marriage is not working. There are so many factors. It could be a medical problem that is affecting the brain. And when the brain is affected, like obviously you behave abnormal. And so let us not take things lightly when somebody is starting to behave abnormally. And we say, huyo amepatwa sijui na shida gani, huyu mtoto wangu. In fact, we curse them. We say they are mad. This child is mad. The child is not mad. Let them be assessed by the right people and let them get help. And that way you all have peace. Other than that, it is going to be very difficult even in the coming years because life is getting harder and harder. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Pastor Jane. I've really enjoyed. I've learned a lot. I've always wanted to ask these questions about therapy, about family. So you can tell us maybe how much do you charge? Are you available for booking? How can people reach out to you if someone is interested in having a chat with you?
Yes, I am available. I have a number that I could give, a telephone number.
Yeah.
And that is 0722 691 284.
284.
Yes.
0722 691 284.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my number. About charges, we agree with the client depending on what it is.
Okay.
Anywhere between 2,000, 3,000.
Okay. This is per session.
Per session, yes.
And do you limit the sessions in terms of hours?
Okay, I wouldn't call it a problem, but because of being a pastor, I give a lot of grace to people. So I don't limit it. The counseling should take exactly 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
But me, I go beyond with a few minutes, depending on the case. Depending on the case, even charges depends on the case. And but you can get me on that number and then we plan on an appointment and we can, because it depends on where again I'm meeting you. Sometimes I meet you in a place that I have to pay, depending on the person and availability of space. So that's what I do. And particularly marriage and family therapist. I feel marriages should work. Marriages include husband and wife and children because children are part of the family. Youth, the young person, the premarital people who are getting married, they should come for premarital counseling so that they know what am I getting into. Because marriage is very nice. Marriage is enjoyable, but it can be very difficult if you enter it wrongly.
Wow. Thank you, Pastor Jane. Any parting shot at all?
Yes, if you are a Kenyan right there, because I know Kenyans who listen to me and maybe many others. If you find you have a challenge, don't die alone. Look for somebody who can walk with you the journey. And look for a counselor, look for a pastor, don't take life on your hands that I will kill you or I will kill myself. Please don't kill yourself. We are there to help you. And so for me, I would say you are welcome to talk to me. You are welcome to talk to any therapist, and we are ready and willing to help you. Yes.
Thank you so much. Be different, listeners. I hope you've really enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you've picked something from this episode. Have a good one. Thank you.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Spotify, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
It is always a pleasure to have hosted you. Thank you for listening. Follow us on the socials, Instagram and Twitter at BeDifferentKE, at I am Nekesa. Facebook is Nekesa Ochieng. Let's keep talking.